This past Saturday evening, NAB vets, along with LEAD, Learn and Educate About Dystonia, came together to celebrate our second annual New England Media Awards with the subtitle C.A.N. Do, curing all neurological disorders like dystonia and PTSD. We feel that the best way to get our message out is through our local media outlets. Thus, the New England Media Awards was born. With this being Veterans Day weekend, it was only appropriate that we ensure that veterans working in media are acknowledged. Though some were unable to attend, the few that did are highly respected and admired throughout our New England region. And those who may not have been veterans were certainly well deserved of being recognized for what they do responsibly on air and in our community. Our keynote speaker was Derek Collins, who not only shared his revealing personal story, but eloquently articulated the necessary research that the Department of Veteran Affairs, in collaboration with both public and private institutions, is engaged in with research to find a cure for neurological disorders with specific emphasis on PTSD. We look forward to honoring the class of 2019.
Awardee, and that is C.A.N. And as it reads here, C.A.N. is a candidate for mayor of the city of Hartford, Connecticut, and is a knowledgeable observer and translator of municipal government, having videotaped hundreds of mayoral, council, and school board developments for almost 3 decades. As a documentarian and interviewer of every Hartford mayor since George Addison, that's Spearman, Mike Milner, Kerry Saxon, Perry, Mike Peters, Ed Perez, Pedro Segarra, and Luke Roman, Stan has been part of fine-grained community advocacy in all 17 Hartford neighborhoods and a grassroots awareness few can rival. He rose through the ranks of Hartford Community Television and then Hartford Public Access TV, from administration assistant to board selected executive director and CEO. Stan grew from his 1980s work as a Pratt & Whitney jet engine mechanic and full-time minister of the gospel. We would like to right now invite Mr. Stan J. McCauley to come right now that he may be presented with this award. Stan J. McCauley, let's get come on, we got to do more than that.
I thank you for the opportunity to come before you and receive this award. Earlier today I announced that I was running for mayor of the city of Hartford, so I'm an official candidate for the city of Hartford's mayor. Now this is it, because I've run twice. Both times I lost. But this time, it's going to be the time. So we're going to claim that in Jesus' name. God bless you all. Leave you strong and good.
Our next awardee, in the person of Curtis S. Bosworth. Curtis S. Bosworth is most known as Primetime DJ Kurt T. A massive listening artist. Go ahead, get a hand. But the role he fills are his. He joined the U.S. Army in 1977. While stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado in 1979, he was involved in armored personnel carrier accident which left him paraplegic. However, Primetime did not allow his injury to prevent him from making a difference in the lives of others as a youth basketball and baseball coach for the Dunbar community. He's a mentor to countless youth in the city of Springfield and former president of the director unit of Melhar Shrine. So let's hear it for Primetime right now.
I really wasn't expecting the same thing, but I greatly appreciate NAVEDS and Lee for presenting me with this award. I'm greatly honored and humbled to receive it. I love what I do, and I do it for the people, man. Each day I go to the radio station, I get a call, they tell me how much they appreciate what I do, and that gives me more motivation to come back and follow me. I've been doing it, I don't know, probably 20 plus years now. Hopefully God keep me around to do it 20 plus more. So I thank you for this award, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Come on, let's give it up, let's give it up. We would now like to invite Brother Kenneth Barnett up here to receive this media award. Come on, can we have a little more? Because see, when I'm talking about giving some hallelujah, some hand praise, I'm talking about giving it for the purpose that is God that did this.
To God be the glory, amen. I'm just grateful and honored that I'm being recognized this evening. God has been very good to me down through the years. My mom is here, Grace Shemaine Barnett. Amen. And she made this all possible with the help of the Lord. So I just want to say thank you. Certainly the promise has been around since 1987, both on commercial and nonprofit radio. And we just try to do the will of God. We're not perfect, but we strive for perfection. Bear our strength in the Lord.
Well, our next awardee, once again, one from my life that's been there all along. It's been an inspiration and, an encouragement to me and to so many others. And I'm just going to read his story here. And it's none other than Mr. Samuel R. Bass. In 1987, he started to publish an ethnic-oriented publication entitled The Bottom Line for 12 consecutive years. He wrote many of the articles and procured most of the advertising. Well, without any ado, we're just going to invite Mr. Samuel R. Bass to come and receive this well-deserved media award. Once again, another expression of how God works through men.
First of all, I'd like to thank NAVEDS, St. Bradley, my cousin Tony, and all that are involved in choosing me to receive this award. Very, very quickly, and I'll tell you why I said very quickly. First of all, Stan McCauley, I think that I have some shows I did with Stan in Connecticut. Years ago, and I'm sitting around, I'm just looking at everybody thinking that I haven't had the time to go back and even enjoy and look at the things that we've collected, that I have done from print. We started the paper, radio and television. I said one day I'm going to be able to sit down and go look at some of the work that we have done. But I had a nerve to say, I think 3 weeks ago, I was on to do my television program, and I said that I was in a season. We have seasons in life. It is in the book of Ecclesiastes. It talks about in life there are different seasons we go through. And I, believe it or not, said I'm in the season of not talking. I remember when I first started The Bottom Line. It was started in writing The Bottom Line. I told my mother and father, I said, I'm going to do something about what I hear that's not true in the media. And I grew up watching Tarzan and all of the shows that they put on TV. And the key to this is that when, from a cultural perspective, when I would see the different images of what was beautiful, and I realized that I thought my mother was the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life, dark-skinned black woman. That was part of my journey to say, I'm going to go and start The Bottom Line to tell our story. And conclusion to that is that my mother and father now I understand what they meant. I thank God that I'm standing here today, still standing. But when I said that I was going to start a newspaper and write our story, I never forget the look on my mother and father's face. They were petrified. I didn't understand. I did not understand that. But now I'm still standing, and I want to thank you all, because I believe the best is yet to come. Thank you for the award.
But we want to call right now someone who can give you a little more insight on Mr. McLaughlin. None other than one of those blessed, anointed offspring, my hero. Come on up here, Miss Paula Moore. Let's give God some praise.
Giving honor to God, who is the head of my life, and I guess I'm going to reveal it to you. I went back to my maiden name, which is Paula Starnes, and I'm glad of that. I feel liberated. Let me get back to where honor needs to be held. I have to say I'm so honored and blessed to be in a room full of men who stood up for your people, your daughters, your sons. We are here because of you. Now, my father wasn't able to be here tonight, but I have to say that he is my hero. I'm a woman of God because my daddy, he didn't preach the gospel, he lived it. He'd get on his knees, even now. He's 86 years old, he gets on his knees to pray. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. Yes.
So I understand that men are so private. Like just some men in this room, they don't tend to speak the gospel, but I appreciate those of you who live the gospel, and my dad knows that. I am a grandson of my father. I've been able to do so many things because of his tutelage. He's been the van driver. Now, after retiring from the Air Force after 27 years and making it through segregation, and even not being put on the front line, being able to be an air pilot instructor, that's deep to me. But he was able to do that and then go to the bulk mail of the post office and become a supervisor and retire from there, and then become YSET, Youth Social Educational Training Academy, his daughter's youth program. He was the van driver, and he was also the security guard. So I'm not going to stand before you long, but I just have to say my daddy has brought me to this point. I am so proud of what I've been able to accomplish because of who he is. So we can continue to be examples for our young people. They can reach the sky. So I want to thank you for honoring my dad. I want to especially thank Tony Bass, because he's just been a ride or die for so many different things. But I'm thankful, I'm humbled, and honored. God bless all of you.
I grew up in an era when his leading got him talked about, got him jailed, got him beaten. But, he didn't stay down, and he rose up to have some truly amazing accomplishments. And so, this media award is more than a media award. But we're going to do our best to honor none other than Mr. Ben Swan. Can we give a hand of praise to God?
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I want to give praise to Rita for allowing me to exist.
All right,
I want to pay homage to the commander of Springfield
chapter of NAMVETS, Mr. Tony Mann. And all the members of the chapter and all the members of NAMVET across the country and wherever they may be. And to the honorees this evening, I'm pleased to be here to join you in this celebration and to pay homage to you for the work that you've done. And I don't remember what Jill's award was called. I don't remember it, but I know that he deserved it. I mean, I know that he deserved that, but a whole bunch of others. So, and Sam Brass was talking about inside. Back about 31 years ago, I started a program called Like Love Experience to do basically what he talked about. Because there's a side, there's an experience that hasn't been explained enough. And we need to do it more for our children and their children. And I talk about it as love because it has been love that has affected the survival of other people. And I'm talking about real love, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the kind that you see in the movies. I'm talking about that survival love. And sometimes people exemplify it and don't even know it. And that's all right. But it is important that we understand history, that we read history, that we research, and that we know what we're talking about when we talk about the history of African people. And it is the connection to all of civilization. And from time to time, on Friday mornings, I will tell you that it is a connection to all of civilization, and if you want to know about civilization, you need to know about that experience. You need to trace it all the way back to where it came from. And you need to talk about all the elements of it. That's what our job is. Thank you. Thank you for this honor.
Ed Cohen is a Springfield, Mass-based freelance photographer. Should somebody say photographer? Who has been photographing in the Pioneer Valley for over 30 years. It seems longer to me. He is a former UMass Amherst student and is currently studying graphic arts, photography, and video production at Springfield Technical Community College. I told you, it doesn't stop. Ed's studies have concentrated on diversity in communications and has based his photography on presenting diversity in his imagery. He has had many photographic exhibitions throughout the area, including University of Massachusetts, Northampton Center for the Arts, the Springfield Museums and Libraries, and the Carberry Gallery at Springfield Technical Community College. Without further ado, can we get the man that never hardly rests without a camera in his hand to just step up here and be awarded this media award for our second?
So I really appreciate this award, and especially since it's for the Dystonia, educational project. A couple of years ago, I had a stroke, and it damaged my speech. So I understand how it is sometimes when you have to work and you have a problem, you have a difficulty with that. And I think it's really important, these events are really important now, especially with what's happening in the news. Because if you look at what's happening in the center of our country, Washington, that we have a president who doesn't like the press and media. So, and there are some of the press folks are not allowed into his programs. So it's really important to support the press, video, television, radio, and newspaper, and make your voices heard. You can't be silent. You have to speak up, because otherwise, people like that will just keep on going. Okay, and hopefully we'll have a change in a few years. But thank you, Phil. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So, although Mrs. Lovin is gone, there's still like-minded people still actively working to inform and impart knowledge to the residents of Springfield and beyond. Luana Hood is one of those people. She's the executive director of the Pan-African American Museum, PAHUSA, and she's been bringing African and African American culture and history alive for area students as well as the general public in the museum spaces at Tower Square. That's Miss Luana Hood, y'all. Let's give her a hand. Thank you.
I plunged into the business of creating something out of nothing. And though I had but a penny left, I considered cash my smallest resource. I have faith in a living God, faith in myself, and a desire to serve. Man in the cloud within. Frederick Douglass said, God and one is the majority. I want to give thanks to God this evening to those who He placed me on their hearts, Tony and Sam, to receive this award, to Miss Joyce, because Miss Lovings, Dr. Lovings, was the first civil rights lady of Springfield. And to be in the category with Jay Griffin, I'm like, oh my God. And when they told me that I was getting the award, I said, what? A Pillar Award? Me? What? But I'd like to say this. There's an Arabic word that is called Nazir. It means forerunners. See, now if you're going to talk about pillars, you got to talk about Sam Bass, because I am not the first museum. Sam Bass is. To understand a forerunner is tough. A forerunner is a warrior. The forerunners get in here and fight for those that are coming after. Because if they don't knock down the walls, if they don't cross over the river, you can't do it. If you're going to talk about pillars, then you got to talk about Representative Swan, who fought for my civil rights. I can't do nothing if he didn't do it. If you're going to talk about pillars, you got to talk about Rosemary Woods, who's been flying all over the country, opening doors so black artists can have a voice to speak. If you're going to talk about pillars, you're going to talk about Jay Griffin, who continually worked even though he took ill. I'm standing here because of those that went before me, who knocked down doors, got pushed around, got talked about, so I could walk in. So I could do or attempt to do what God wanted me to do. Because God knows I'm sitting here because God put me. It ain't because of one of things at all. You want to talk about pillars? You want to talk about my grandmother, Dr. Louise Springer, who opened up doors for women in the gospel and wouldn't take down for no man. She's only 5 feet tall. But get in her way. If God told her to do something, it was going to get done. So I am grateful and privileged to have this award because, like I said, Miss Loving had said to me, she came out of my room and said, "You got your African American flag?" I said, "Not yet, Miss Loving." "Well, I'm going to get it for you, you understand?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." Because again, as I said before, it's important that these young people understand If those that go before you don't do it, it wasn't gonna get done. Because we didn't get to this space to come in here, just sit down and even talk. If they hadn't done it. Because if you go back to the history, you couldn't even come in. They had to take the rebuke. They had to take the scorn. In order for me just to stand here. I am grateful for each and every one of them that has gone before me, that I can have an opportunity to stand. Pray for me.
Gerald J. Griffin Sr. is one of 16 children. 9 boys and 7 girls born to Andrew and Geraldine Griffin. God bless them. He was born in Springfield, Mass. And attended the local public schools. Jay is a graduate of St. Edward's University, Austin, Texas. He is a retired administrator. He supervised an HIV/AIDS counseling and testing program and a staff of case managers who provided client services for people infected with the virus. He was also program director of Northern Educational Services Incorporated, substance abuse program. Jay has a long history of community service, and I concur, dating back to 1969 as one of the founders of, somebody say it. Come on, say it again. As one of the founders of Harambe, which became a major African American festival in the city of Homs. Another proud accomplishment is that he is co-founder of the, say it somebody. Come on, say it again. The Stone Soul Festival, and has served as program chairman since its beginning 30 years ago. Jay is a board member of the Old Hill Neighborhood Council, and thankful that he is an appropriate place to end when all we see is God on display through this man. Come on, let's give God. Hallelujah.
I'm going to be very quick. With all of the recipients of awards tonight, please stand. It's such an honor to be in a celebrative mood with you tonight. That Ben Swan was talking about, that Black Love experience. That is us. Yes. That determines what we achieve. We can do anything. Yeah. I got a telephone call from the University of Massachusetts to ask me to come down to Bermuda. So I went down there, and one of them was talking, and she talked historically about my family. Told me things I had never heard before. How we got up north to over here. And been here for over 100-something years. So, it's up to us, folks. And I think occasions like this help it keep going. And I want to thank you so much for the announcement.